put your fingerprint on the machine, and once you vote your small finger.
Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera filling.
Right now, we bring to you a continuous coverage of Kenya Decides 2022, where elections have started since before dawn, East African time, 6 a.m., and we see lots of Kenyans chipping in. I am Rita Mordia. I'll not be doing this alone. I have a host of others, but starting right beside me is this dashing young man.
Yeah, I say dashing, you can say that. Bernard Akede is my name. Thank you for being with News Central Television from the break of dawn, I must say, up until this very moment. Like Rita did mention, the elections have commenced since 6 a.m. East African time, that's Kenyan local time, which is 4 a.m. West African time. And by now, this is 3 p.m. West African time, that should be 5 p.m. East African time. Elections should officially be closing by now. So we would be looking at almost everything that has been going on throughout the election, that from the beginning of the day up until now. We'll see the kind of activities that have been ongoing, how voting have been in several places, how the, like we like to call them, the political actors, the major political actors have voted and what they think about the elections. And of course, we have a host of analysts who will be joining us in the studio, some virtually, and we definitely do have our strings in Kenya as well that will be taking us through this journey. Again, my name is Bernard Akede. Thank you for staying with us.
Yes, and straight from Kenya, we've been having reports all the way from Kenya. We've seen lots of voter participation, although we had a little bit of unrest in Mombasa County due to irregularities. We also had issues of technological differences, especially with the King's Kit coming up. All the presidential candidates, so to say, we have 4 presidential candidates, George Wajakoya, we have Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister. We also have the Deputy President, William Ruto, who is also the presidential candidate, and David Wahiga. All of them have voted, and as Bernard rightly said, right now we should be closing votes and the counting of votes should begin. Well, we have our correspondents all over Kenya who will be giving us updates so far. We also have people who have been arrested for electoral violence, and unfortunately we've seen top political officers, even those who are contesting, actually being arrested in Kenya. But so far so good. I think the people of Kenya are really ready to cast their votes and make sure that the best man wins.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely do hope that the best man wins. Although, like you mentioned, there are 4 players in this particular election, but it seems like it's a two-man horse race, or a 2-horse race. Basically, I'm talking about William Ruto, who is the deputy president, like you mentioned, and the long-standing rival, Raila Odinga, who everybody knows. Now between both of them, it's really been an interesting campaign season leading up to today, which is the day that voting actually took place generally. So yeah, we would like to see what exactly would happen. Will Kenya decide today? Will there be a rerun, a runoff? You know, it's quite dicey, and everybody's waiting to see. It's really close for the both of them so far.
And that's a question mark that a lot of people are complaining about, a runoff election. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of elections cancelled, or rather postponed, in some areas due to technological differences going on there. We had earlier on about 3 local government council polls who were actually closed, and the elections were postponed due to irregularities. And this puts a question on the competency of the IEBC. That's the institution that is responsible for conducting the elections, because a lot of Kenyans are hoping for a free and fair polls, looking at the antecedents of Kenya, looking at 2007, 2017, and right now 2022, where Kenyans are voting for who will lead them for the next 5 years in the election. And we saw earlier on the fact that the Supreme Court in Kenya told the IEBC to make sure that they use manual voter registration for it. And I think the court was right in its sense to do that, looking at all the technological differences and difficulties that we've seen having with the King's Kit going on. And it puts a question on technological advancement in most African countries, how far we have gone with all of this, and how well we will in the next years to come.
I think when we talk about technology as regards election or voting proper in African countries, like you rightly have mentioned, it's a step-by-step procedure. In West Africa, talking about like countries like Nigeria, different measures have been taken, different technological inputs have been made from one election to the other, and then there have been improvements. Now, the last elections that held in 2 Nigerian states, Ekiti State or Osun State, there was a step up from the previous election that happened 4 years ago, and it recorded quite a significant level of success, might I say. And the same thing here, but of course not without its own failures and its complaints. And the same thing here is happening to the Kim's Kids as well. We can't exactly rule it off and say, or rule it out and say it's been a total failure. It has its challenges. Everything takes time to get used to, definitely. But again, I like what the court did by saying that they cannot completely and they will not completely rule out manual voting. Of course, the Kim's Kit will be an added advantage where it works. And where it doesn't entirely work, it will be a lesson learned. And the way forward is what they'll be looking forward to.
Way forward, indeed. And just for voting, it's not just those in Kenya. We also have voting diaspora happening in 12 countries, including Canada, USA, Germany, and UK. And just for updates, you see the IEBC postponing elections for MP position in Kitui Rural and Rongai constituency over wrong candidate pictures and details. I think that has been another issue. We saw a woman who has actually withdrawn from the race, still in the picture for the governorship post. And this put a question on the competency, once again, of the IEBC. We also have the police arrested Mvita Uda MPA for irregularities for elections. And we have about 6.5 million voters, that is 30% had voted by 12 p.m. East African time. This is coming from official results. How would you judge the opening of polls? Because we saw reports of some of the polling units actually wasting time to start the elections. What can you say about that?
I think that one was also because of maybe hitches. And I believe that the Kenyans in those areas, if they are still there, they're supposed maybe to be given maybe an extra time, at least to cover up of the time lost during maybe when the problems were happening and they could not open.
Okay, what other, from your own analysis, looking at the security issues going on in Kenya, how would you say that the security agencies fared so far, looking at all the counties and reports that we've seen from before the break of dawn when the election started?
I can say that security is really okay, up to me, according to me, up to now. It's okay because we've seen whenever we have had an issues, we have seen the quick response to ensure that we still have a continuous, smooth running of the elections. And I can say that it gives Kenyans hope in terms of security, in terms of even what will happen after this election in case there is a controversy. We believe that our security is ready to ensure that every Kenyan is safe wherever they are.
Okay. All right, Rixin, we would put a pause to our questions and our analysis from here. We're going straight to Kenya, where we have one of our stringers who is live and waiting on us. Kennedy Muidi is right there. Hello, Kennedy. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you properly. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And how are things over in Kenya?
Well, we've just come to the end of closing of polling stations in a number of them, most of them that started at 6 o'clock today morning. And those that did not start, the IEBC has been very categorical that they will be extending the time so that they can make sure that everybody who is on the queue or who was on the queue by 5 p.m. will have gotten an opportunity to vote. That is a strong message coming. However, there is a serious problem in this particular election where the turnout has not been as expected. According to data that has been given by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is not so long ago, probably about an hour or two ago, they are putting the number of people who have come out to vote at around 8 million people. This is a very small number compared to those that came out in 2013 and 2017. In 2017, for President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto to have won the vote, they won it with over 8 million votes. So this one, if we are just getting 8 million votes, the total votes cast, then it tells you there is a problem. In 2017, we are estimating the number of people who came out to vote to have been about 14 to 15 million. Now, if these numbers are not replicated this time round, considering that this is not just any other election, but a transition election, then there is a big problem.
Yeah, I'll quickly push this to you now, talking about the number. Now, Rita and I were discussing off camera about voter apathy, and it's something we've seen over different African countries where people have not exactly been coming out to vote in the numbers that have been expected. Why do you think this is happening now in a transition election? not just a transition election, it's an election of huge interest in East Africa, in fact in Africa generally and in the rest of the world, seeing the drama that is playing out between the current president, that's the outgoing president, his deputy president, and his immediate opponent. One would have expected that there will be large turnout. I mean, 8 million in total is not even up to 10% of the entire voters that, not up to 50% of the voters that have been registered. So what exactly do you think could be the cause of this voter apathy?
Well, that is a very good question, but you will have realized that there is a changing trend in how people are voting, not just here in Kenya, but in the whole of Africa. We have an emerging youth that are very disinterested in politics and leadership. They want just to make money, probably through corrupt ways or any other ways, but do not care who is going to lead them. These youth, and a growing number of them here in Kenya, are of the opinion that even if they went to vote, probably their vote will not make a difference. However, there have been politicians in this country who have been banking on the youth vote. But even as we went ahead, 75% of Kenyans are youth. That is below 35 years old. But they are concerned about something else that is not political, or even as they are getting into politics, they go and marshal themselves into the established political parties that already have the old. So most of them would opt to go out and get nominations other than fight it out, because in Kenya and the whole of Africa, an election is a very expensive affair. So to answer your question, there are so many youth that are very disinterested in how politics is played, how politics is done, and how politics and the final outcome of politics. Some of them, when they heard that today was a holiday, they chose yesterday as a drinking day, so that the whole of today they either sleep it through or they sit down and, as they call it here in social parlance, they Netflix and chill.
Oh, wow.
It's not just over there. The Netflix
I think
and chill over here.
It's everywhere, yeah.
It's everywhere.
Okay, now you talk about those who did not participate in election. How about those who were there, who voted? How would you rate the mood, and are they satisfied with the conduct of the elections?
This far, Kenya is a very spontaneous country. If there was any side that was dissatisfied with how the elections have been carried out until now, they would have either have called a press conference or they would already have reacted. Until now, both sides, that is the Raila side and the Ruto side, have not come out to make any complaints this far. What we saw in the morning with a number of people making noise with regards to voter turnout and also some cases of voter bribery, they have been dealt with swiftly. The Interior Ministry, the Internal Security Ministry here in Kenya, had already prepared the country and said that they will be very vigilant in this particular time when Kenyans are going to the elections. So there have been less incidences of either disruptions or vote disruptions. And this question of voter apathy is actually consuming more of the time of the politicians right now than any other thing, because they have been going around the country. They have been addressing rallies that have had thousands and thousands of Kenyans. Then you will ask yourself, okay, these people have been coming to my meeting. Then where are they when I need them most? Is it that the money that they were given to attend some of this money, some of these meetings just ended in the stomach, and they believe that the contract that I had with you does not have to extend to voting?
Okay, Kennedy, I don't know if you have an update on this, but we saw reports that the Kim's kit was stolen in Marsabit while being charged. What exactly are the updates on this, especially with the use of the Kim's kit?
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission will be giving an update in the next 30 minutes, and that is one of the questions that will be coming out. But that question that you've asked is that is what happened yesterday, and it was not in Marsabit, but probably in Wajir, where there was gunfire that also involved different parts, different sides, where they believed that probably the fact that some of the election material was being stored in one of the constituency offices, it would have given an opportunity for the incumbent member of parliament to probably play around with the documentation or anything. But as it turns out, and even the police and IEBC having confirmed, they said that that is one of the gazetted places where they had said that the polling material would be placed. However, on the question of Marsabit, I would want to find out more, as this is some information that is still coming out, and then the IEBC will be better placed to give us that information when they'll be giving us an update on the closure of polling stations, as there are people and there are other areas where some questions came up and the IEBC took the decision to suspend elections in those regions.
Okay, all right. We also have other guests standing by. We have Emily Wanja Kaburu, who's a political analyst, and we have Michael Wayaki. I hope I got the name right. Thank you very much for joining us, Emily. Thank you for joining us, Michael, as well. Michael is the founder of Miti Alliance. Thank you, gentleman and lady, for joining us at this time. Now, the voting has officially closed in Kenya, except for, like our stringer there mentioned, except for places where the voting did not start at exactly 6 a.m. and the Electoral Commission has allowed for people who were on the queue to continue voting. No other person would join that queue. They would continue voting until such queues have been exhausted and voting has ended. Now, he has also mentioned some of the challenges that voting has faced today, particularly voter apathy. And that's where I would like to start from. I will start from you, Emily, if you are still with us. It's a problem that is not just hitting Kenya alone. It's hitting almost every sub-Saharan African country that has had elections this year and most recently. Why are we not seeing youth participating more in election and electoral matters? Africa is the youngest continent so far. So why are the youth not participating?
Thank you so much, Bernard. The voter turnout for the youth has always been an issue in Africa, in that maybe in most of the cases they feel that they have nothing to gain, whether any of the political or the presidential winner candidates win or not. So most of the youth take that time to go for holidays, as one of our political analysts has said. And they also think that voting is not useful or is not beneficial to them. I think that is one of the challenges that we have, especially when it comes to youth. So if you look at 2017, 2012, 2017 and 2013, the voter turnout in Kenya has always been very low, and also, as you've said, in other African countries. So I think even when these candidates or the presidential candidates were launching their manifestos, maybe they were not very clear on what it was in for the youth. You see, like there's no of the clauses that was very specific and that was touching to the youth, and that maybe might have caused that. Also, if you look at the candidates, they are the old. So we have none of the candidates as maybe a running mate or a vice a nominated deputy president who is a youth. So that is one of the issues that we have, or one of the challenges that we have in Kenya.
Okay, thank you so much, Emily. I'd like to bring in Michael. Now, Michael, you've observed the election so far. Are you satisfied with the conduct so far?
So, thank you guys for having me. So far from the experience I've had in my polling station and in a friend's polling station that I visited, in terms of security, in terms of planning, I think we must give some kudos to the IEBC this year for their kind of planning, and clearly marked tents, clearly marked initials.
Michael, can you hear us? Okay. While we still try to get Michael's view on the conduct so far of the election, I'd like to throw that question back to Emily. You've mentioned the issue of voter apathy, but in your own observation, what do you think are some of the other issues with the conduct of the election so far? Emily, can you hear us? Okay.
We also have technical issues with Michael and Emily. We hope to get back to them. Rickson, let's come back to you. Now, we've heard from Emily, and we're hearing from Michael before he went offline. Still, we're talking about the challenges of the election. We've talked about voter apathy. I was going to ask her about female participation in election and electioneering, but forgive me. It also is another challenge. We are beginning to see African countries bring women to the table now when it comes to politics and decision making, and everybody's looking at certain countries as the benchmark. What would you say about Kenya when it comes to putting women on the table in terms of decision making?
I think in Kenya, women have been given a chance in the leadership arena. Looking at the 2010 constitution, it has a 2/3 gender rule that is in there, and that is one of the biggest milestones. And as a country, we are trying very much to achieve that. You find that either in nominated positions or elected positions, you must have that kind of combination. Women have also been given chances, like now we just have a provision for women representative. Yeah, that's one of the way. But I'll say that we have not also achieved the required margin of women involvement in leadership. But as Kenya, I can say that we have very good policies about that. Not only in the constitution, but also even out there in different organizations. They have very good policies about women, youth, people disabled involvement in leadership. But the problem we're having as Africa is always we have very beautiful policies, but what happens during implementation?
A very big question there. And aside from women, the other group that we expect the participation in for elections are the youths. I'm going to bring that back again. And you heard from Kennedy the situation where the youths are not concerned or bothered about the elections. How can we change that narrative in Kenya? What do you think needs to be done? I
think more of civil education needs to be done, because yes, the truth is that 75% of Kenyans are youth, according to statistics. But now look at the people who are most suffering in Kenya are the youth, because they are the ones who are going through unemployment, etc. And you find that even during these political rallies, they are the ones who are maybe bribed to bring havoc. So even a normal youth has sat down and also thought that, okay, so what is my piece of meat in this cattle that we're killing? And he has realized that he's maybe just given the hooves while others are taking all the steaks to themselves. So the youth also, I think, they have also come up with that kind of ideology that this thing of going in for election is not our thing. And let's just leave it to the old people to do it, and then whoever gets in power is okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now I hear that Emily is back online with us. Emily, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. Now, Emily, before you went offline, I was going to ask you about demographics and talking about women participation in politics. Our guest in-house, Rickson, has given us his own piece about that. But now I'm coming to voting proper. What can you say about the number of women who turned out in today's election?
Today we have a very low voter turnout, and I think by 12 p.m. we had only 6.5 million Kenyans coming out to vote, and by around 2 hours ago, around 8 million Kenyans. And in Kenya, I might not be very sure of the turnout for women, but when you look at the lines, you might notice that most of the people on the queue are men. And this is because most likely women are left behind to do household chores, because in Africa, taking care of the babies. But we also think, in the Azimio Party, as a woman representative, Mother Karua, which makes maybe we might have a higher turnout of women because of that factor. And we're also anticipating that in this election that you're going to have 30% of the representatives coming from women, despite the last parliament whereby we even had litigation where the court declared that the parliament was insolvent because we lacked that 2/3 gender rule. So we are expecting that more women are going to turn out to vote. I know most of the people will say that more women will come out because of Mother Karua factor. So I expect that the effect will be more on the literate women compared to the women who have who have gone to school, because there are also other factors in Africa that might affect that. including culture and how we view a woman in Africa. So I might not be sure.
All right, Emily, while you're still telling us about women participation in Kenyan election, how women are going to make a difference for this election, let's take live feeds going on at the IEBC headquarters, where the IEBC is going to give us some information about the election.
When counties, time lost will be compensated. The Commission has resolved to hold by-elections in 8 electoral areas due to court orders, mismatch of ballot materials content on 23rd August 2022. These include gubernatorial position, Mombasa and Kakamega County. B, member of National Assembly, Kitui Rural Constituency, Kitui County, Kachalimba Constituency, West Pokot County, Pokot South Constituency, West Pokot County, and the Rugai Constituency, Nakuru County. Members of County Assembly Ward, Nyaki West North Imenti Constituency, Meru County, Kwanjenga and Bakasi South Constituency, Nairobi County. The by-elections will be held in the next 2 weeks because A, voters in the electoral areas deserve a short period to elect their leaders. The Commission will also be ready to conduct the by-elections, having dispensed off with other electoral activities relating to the general election. And the C, it will be cost-effective since the same equipment and personnel will be deployed with minimum training. Elections in Elders constituency, Wajir County, have been adjourned due to security reasons, and the voting shall commence tomorrow at 6 a.m. In conclusion, the Commission urges members of the public to utilize its 24-hour toll-free lines, 1543 and 1544, should they wish to bring incidents to the Commission's attention. The Commission will keep you regularly updated on all developments touching on the general elections. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.
That was the representative. That's the representative of the IEBC Day. Talked about compensation for the places where the elections have been postponed. He also talked about by-election happening in the next 2 weeks, and in Elders constituency, election has been adjourned. A 24-hour toll-free time. I think these are major compensations for the electorates for the election.
Now, one major concern that most people have when it has to do with by-elections is the fact that nobody wants by-elections because it's an extension of the time. It may be more expensive. They may need to deploy officers into certain places all over again. You may need to pay them all over again. But now the representative of the IEBC said, all this has been clearly thought out, been taken care of. He did say that it will be cost effective. First of all, he said, because it's not going to take retraining of staff again. The same staff who ran these elections will probably be deployed there, so they have a good knowledge. And then, like I mentioned earlier, talking about the Kim's kit, maybe this might be a chance to retest it, retest some of these materials
Let's
again.
bring him here now. Do you think that, because he's given a 2 week, he said by-election are happening in the next 2 weeks, so looking at the issues that have been put in place, do you think the IEBC will be able to forestall for the occurrences of these hitches?
I think if all the factors remain constant, nothing will change, and we might have the same problems. But I don't know what magic they want to do in 2 weeks. Maybe according to your question, if they have anything to do. Okay. 2 weeks might be.
All right, Rickson, just hold on that thought. 2 weeks, you're being pessimistic about it, but we still have the IEBC spokesperson still having some words for us.
presidential results. I will ask the Vice Chair to answer the second question. Can you repeat your question?
Nauliza kwamba kwa majina naitwa Emmanuel Kilomo kutoka TV Magharibi, na swali langu ni kwamba katika uchaguzi huu tunaona kwamba tume ya IEBC ilikuwa imewaajiri wahudumu wa muda ambao watalipwa na pesa za Kenya, lakini tunaona kwamba tena kuna uchaguzi mdogo ambao utaandaliwa katika kaunti ya Mombasa, Kakamega, West Pokot na Kajilika. Je, ni nani atakayekandamiza kuwalipa wale maafisa ambao watakusimamia zoezi hilo la uchaguzi? Ni Mkenya, IEBC ama ni nani? Asante.
IEBC ni wa Kenya. So itasimamiwa na IEBC na Treasury, kwa sababu hii mambo ya by elections ni kawaida. Hata 2017 kulikuwa na by election tulifanya. Kwa hivyo itasimamiwa tu, kwa sababu makosa imekoseka, ni lazima tuendelee.
Okay, Bernard, this is where I wish I had the Kenyan tongue, but thank God that we have Rickson with us here.
Okay, I was going to translate what he said in Swahili, but I'll let Rickson say it.
In Swahili, Bernard, okay. Rickson, please help us out here.
Yeah, I think the reporter from Magharibi TV was asking who is going to foot the bills for the by-election. And as per the response is that is the Treasury and the IEBC, and he added up saying that they all belong to Kenya, so they're the ones who will take care of that.
You know, that was part of what I was going to mention. You know, talking about going forward to by-elections. Now, more often than not, as I said earlier, in most countries they don't like by-elections because it's like a football match. You don't plan for extra time or even penalties, but then you put it somewhere in case it does happen. You know. The footballers are tired, you know, they are worn out, and then it can go either way. It's almost the same with by-elections. You don't want it to extend beyond that particular day. So I'm going to throw this to you as well. What are some of the downsides that you think can come up during by-elections?
I'll respond by saying that by-election, let's say first of all in terms of the voter turnout, it is expected to be low generally. Okay. Yeah. Let's look. A day like today is a holiday for election, but look at the turnout. Now, what about a by-election? And you remember that Kenyans are people who are busy. They are trying to make ends meet here and there. Some of them maybe traveled because of the holiday to come and vote. And now you're telling them again they have to go back maybe to the city and then come back again to vote. I think the by-election most of the time is hit by a lot of negative forces. And we generally have a low voter turnout during by-elections. Okay,
negative forces. I don't know if we still have Emily with us, and I don't know if she also shares the same view. So, Emily, with all what the IEBC spokesperson has said, I'll reiterate it again: by-election in the next 2 weeks, compensation for the electorate where the voting started late. Also, in Elders constituency, the voting has been adjourned. Do you feel the IEBC should have been more prepared, and what are the negative consequences of this 2 weeks extension by-election?
Thank you so much, Rita. I think it has been negligence on IEBC side. We have not seen this before in our elections. We started by yesterday seeing IEBC cancelling elections in Mombasa and also in Kakamega. Today we saw them cancel elections in Rungai, Nakuru, and a few other constituencies, including Makueni. We also had issues whereby we had some of the candidates, like particularly there's a one in Meru where the candidate's name was missing. So I think this is very negligence from IEBC. It adds financial implication both for the national government or IEBC and also for the individual candidates, in that they had already put in all their financial resources in these elections. They were already prepared for these elections. Logistically, they had already recruited their own agents in these polling stations. So it's going to be a very not a very good picture, especially for IEBC. So I think it has a very negative effect. And as Rickson said, I don't think there's much they will do within the next 2 weeks. Because they had 5 years to prepare, but this is what they are giving us. So I think it's something that should be looked on at during the next election, and that they should prepare better, because this, I would say, it's a shame from IEBC. Thank you.
Michael, if you're still with us, I wanted to throw the next question to you. Now, it could go either way, and here's what I mean. For the by-elections, it could either be a chance for the security operatives, for IEBC, and all the officials involved in election in Kenya to focus their attention on these places where the by-election will take place and make sure everything is in place. Or it could be a chance for certain political parties or certain persons who have particular interests to manipulate what is going to happen because the numbers are now small and there's more concentration. Yeah. How do you see this turning out eventually? Is it going to be, more concentration for the electoral officials or more attention for the political parties?
Thanks for that question. I feel the IEBC really failed us on that perspective. Imagine the candidates who have been doing all the campaigning across the country, and then now to have this kind of by-election announced. And 2 weeks is a lot of time that the ground people can really change even the perspectives of, the people who are going to be the voters. And as mentioned earlier, you see, say, the person who was lagging behind possibly now will have the time to catch up with the one who was maybe shown in the polls to be leading. And I see IEBC, this is quite a disservice even to the taxpayer. Imagine this money is coming from the taxpayers, and what could happen is things could be manipulated. We're not saying they will be, but there is a possibility. We are also seeing that Kenya is a country where such things, the anomalies have been found out even in this election and the past elections. And for IEBC to make such mistakes with all the planning and the time that they had, I think this one, we have to say that they really have disappointed the constituents in those areas and even the aspirants themselves. And really, they need to prepare well, because there's so much now that has been left to chance in these areas. Okay. And of course,
Michael, looking at the way forward, what do you think the IEBC should work on aside this appointment? This deed has been done. What should the IEBC work on?
I think the IEBC should work on ensuring that in these by-elections that they are fair, that there is quite a lot of transparency, that even if they don't bring new observers, but the people who are managing this process, that they would make it very transparent that there is no malpractice that's going to happen. I think a lot of people will have their eyes on IEBC to see how this has been done, because this may paint a shadow over them on the main elections that will have already been done. Did they do it right, or they are going to do the same mistakes and possibly create loopholes that will be evident in the by-elections?
Okay, thank you, Michael. I will stay with you now, and let's look at the issue of voting diaspora. We have reports that it happened in 12 countries, including Canada, USA, Germany, and UK. Now, how will you assess the level of voting in diaspora in Kenya?
I think for us, number one, that transparency that is expected from diaspora and IEBC and the infrastructure they have on that side. I do know that the people in diaspora have systems there, and we know that these countries are well advanced as compared to what we have in Africa. But will there be any loopholes as those votes are relayed onto this side? Who will verify? And it is upon IEBC and the citizens such as us and even the political parties to hold them accountable. How are the votes verified? Who was there? Are those people trained on the job of collecting those votes? What systems were used? So these are some of the things that they need to just share with us or share with the typical average citizen to ensure that we don't have doubt in their processes.
Now, still talking about voting in diaspora, what do you think? And this is coming to you, Emily. I know that it's a fraction, it's a small percent of the entire population of Kenya. Now, we are told that about 22 million people actually were registered to take part in these elections, and we heard from our stringer in Kenya that only about 8 million have voted so far. We don't know if this has to do, if this also is in addition with the people in diaspora. But do you think the number of voters in diaspora can add anything to the total number of votes cast so far? Can there be any push from there?
I don't think so, because I tend to think they might not be significant enough. I might not have the numbers, but I don't think they will be significant enough, because if you look at the diaspora vote, if you look, let's say in USA, for example, they only have one polling station. So you can imagine someone in Washington, D.C. So you can imagine a Kenyan paying a ticket from maybe Texas to Washington, D.C. So I don't think they will really have a major effect on the elections. But I think they might give us an indication of what we might expect. Yes.
Okay. I'd like to give this to you, Dixon, as well. Now, the voters in diaspora. I think it's a good thing for many African countries to have their citizens or their indigents in different parts of the world being able to participate, in voting. How significant do you think this is for Kenyans who live out of the country?
To me, I think it's very significant. Because you have to agree that even that one single vote has a difference to make, be it in any of the positions at the president level or whatever. And also, diaspora in Kenya is a very key economic pillar, and they are very much interested in the politics of the country. That's why they have been able to be included. Yeah, it is because of their own initiative that they said, no, we are sending this annually to Kenya. We want to know the person that is going to manage our resources. Are we sending money for somebody to go and put in his pocket or what? So their votes are really significant, and because we also have a good number of them out there. Even if maybe they come to a total of, let's say, even 10,000, it's a good difference.
Okay.
Now, to all the guests, I'm going to take this one by one. I'm going to start with you, Dixon, because you're in the studio with us. The person who is going to take the #1 seat in Kenya following these elections will rule for the next 5 years. How significant is this next ruler going to be in the East African sub-region, basically? We know how significant Kenya, the kind of role Kenya plays, in the East African community, which also means that the next ruler of Kenya will play a significant role in that community. Regardless of who it is, how important, how significant is this role for East Africa?
Yes, the way you've said that Kenya plays a very big role in matters of that region. And the region looks so much up to Kenya in so many dimensions, in terms of stability and so many things, be it trade, etc. And someone said in the morning that when Kenya sneezes, East Africa catches flu. Which is true.
I see the other Kenyans laughing. So
yeah, agreeing with it.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's very true, because look at the strategic positioning of that country, and how the country has tried as much as possible to push issues like, let's say, like democracy, stability in the region. You understand, like right now, the KDF is in Somalia trying to restore peace. Kenya played a very big role in South Sudan to ensure that. So the next leader must be ready to take up the role of a big brother in the region, and must be somebody who is really ready, because he'll also be facing his own challenges at home, which are growing day in, day out, but also should also assume the role of the big brother, because you understand that the region is looking up to Kenya in so many factors.
When you say the word big brother, I'm wondering, should they look after themselves? I know Nigeria would call themselves a big brother for West Africa. Let's hear from Michael on this. What exactly should be the main focus point for whoever emerges as the president of Kenya to rule for the next 5 years?
Thank you. I think the next president has a huge job to do as they land into office. I don't envy any of the presidential candidates who will be landing the job, because they are finding a big group of youth who are really, they don't have hope. They're looking for opportunities. They're looking for employment. We have subsidies on fuel. We have the high prices, high cost of living. That president needs to have a strategy immediately they land on the job.
Okay, Michael.
And I feel like they are, yeah.
All right, looking at the economy, you talk about the different areas, because we see the two major heads, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. They talk about how to help the small people, how to grow the economy. What do you think should be the major focus points? We've seen Raila Odinga talking about giving money to the people. We see William Ruto with a hustler and dynasty strategy. What should be the major economical focus point for the candidate?
Well, I think the focus is on youth and opportunities around, I like the idea of the hustler. I also like what Raila has mentioned on what subsidies or what funds is going to give, but what structures are they putting up in place is my question to them. And I feel that the youth of today is more concerned about not just this kind of handouts, but something that is substantive, that will take them to a better way of living, to empower their businesses, to grow their businesses. If it is skills that they need, if it is funding that they need, are they getting good rates from the banks? Or is it that these handouts will just be there for a season and they're over? Or is it empty promises? So I think that is what, honestly, I feel has caused so many of these youth not to turn out today, because they feel that those two promises were not substantive for them. And that is something that they have to think about, and they have to reflect on it. Why these youth didn't turn out? Didn't they believe their promise? So the new president has to maybe table that as some of the priority areas. Why did these youth not believe in what we promised them?
All right, Emily, let me throw this to you now. A new dispensation is coming in, and one of the places they'll look at are the areas where the outgoing government has scored low points. I don't want to say has failed totally, but has scored low points. Let's narrow it down and be specific. What are one or two of these places that you think the new government should concentrate or focus its attentions on first?
Thank you so much. I think I think the government should focus on lowering the cost of living for the Kenyans. As we talk, as at now, most of the Kenyans are not able to afford basic needs. We've seen like inflation, like the cost of unga. Unga is flat, has risen from 100 shillings to around 250 shillings or so. We've also seen the cost of fuel and all that. So one of the priorities that the incoming president should focus on is lowering the cost of living in Kenya. Also, we've talked of the employment rate. We have an employment rate of about 36% in Kenya. So that's a huge chunk of youth or people who are not employed. So, and that means that most of the Kenya, that also causes an insecurity issue for the Kenya and for the government and also for the economy. The other area I think that they should also focus, and the two candidates who are the top two candidates who are Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable
William
Ruto have not focused and have not come out very well to say how they are going to deal with the issue of corruption. If you look at during Ruto time, there was also the Kimwerere scandal. They have been scratching the ground, but they have not been very particular on how they are going to deal with corruption in Kenya. If you look at Raila Odinga, after the handshake, there was the KEMSA scandal. How are they going to deal with that? They have not also been very clear. So the two governments should also focus on issues corruption, employment, and lowering the living standards and cost of living for Kenyans. Okay. I will also not forget.
Go ahead, Emily.
Yes. I will also not forget the health sector. As we say, a poor people is a poor economy. So I'm also hoping that they are going, we've seen in Right Honorable Ondinga's manifesto, he talked of Babacare, but it's not clear of how he's going to implement that, especially knowing that health is a devolved function. It doesn't lie at the national level, it lies at the county level. So all the services are offered at the county level. So, and if you look at what is happening as at now, most of the health budget, it lies with the national government. And the role of the national government is very clear when it comes to matters health. It's policy, it's developing guidelines, referral, and also doing surveillance. So most of these other chunk of services are offered by the county government. So are they going to deal with that, bearing in mind that most of the budget has been at the national government and very little going to the county. So as I've said, a sick people is a sick nation. So we should focus on that so that we can lower maternal mortalities, perinatal mortalities, and also stop some preventable diseases like cholera and what have you. So I think those are the areas that I think the government should focus on.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring the second part of that question to you, Dixon. Now, of course, we've heard from Michael and from Emily about where the government the incoming government should improve upon. But of course, I don't think it's been all gloom and doom for the government of Uhuru Kenyatta. So, and as we say, governance should be in continuum. So what aspects would you say that Uhuru Kenyatta's government has done well that you would like the incoming government to build upon or to continue from?
Yeah, I'll say that the government of Uhuru Kenyatta has been very successful in so many areas. Number one, let's look at infrastructure. They have been able to follow the Vision 2030 of the nation put in place by Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki during their time. And they have also tried to ensure that they run at par with other developing nations. And that's why if even you look at the statistics about what the country is doing, even in issues like health, they've been able to lobby big companies to come in. Like currently, I know by next year we'll be producing Moderna vaccine and so many other things. Yeah. Also, it has been able to achieve, I can say, on the independence of institutions. That thing is a good thing to me, but also when not used very well, it's a bad thing. But during his tenure, we've seen that the independent bodies, be it the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, they have been, even he himself as a president can move something. The judiciary turns it out. Yeah, and during his time, we've seen so many of such cases that the parliament says this, the judiciary cancels. This happens, because they're independent, but in a way integrated. Okay. And the next government should build on that. We don't want to go back to dictatorship. We want that to continue so that a normal mwananchi can feel safe. A normal mwananchi can feel that if I go to court, my matter is going to be addressed without whom the matter is against. We have seen small people win big cases against big people in Kenya. Yeah. We want that to continue. Also, another area that I can say that they have also done well is the health system. Yes, they have not hit the 100% score, but so many things have come in place through initiatives like Linda Mama. We've also had cancer treatment machines being brought in place, and so many things in the health sector, education sector, etc. Talking about education, I'll also say that they did well. So that system of education that they have brought in, which is CBC, the competency-based curriculum, I think it has a lot of critiques at the same time, but to me, I think it's the best thing to do as a country, because being like one of the people maybe who have gone to school and not been able maybe to secure a job, I can say that it has that CBC is a very good way to go, because we are developing on skills of this child from the time he's still young up to the time that he grows knowing that I'm a person of this area. And we are trying also to get out of the current education system that is based on cramming. you find that you just be reading so much in order for you to understand and answer that exam paper. When you go out, ask that graduate even a simple question, I've forgotten everything, because they get out of that place, they don't have a job, they go back to manual works to make ends meet. So many freedom of speech. Also during this time, we've not seen so many cases like, yes, we've had a few cases of maybe some killings that are not very clear, but not so many.
Okay.
And we have also seen people being brought down, governors being impeached. I think the next government should do ×2 of that, and we are moving in the right direction as a nation if we keep that flow of things.
You've listed so many achievements of the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. You talk about health, economy, freedom of speech, health and infrastructure. Now, Michael, Emily mentioned something about corruption, which has eroded the economic growth going on in Kenya. What do you think can be done to erode corruption from Kenya? How can the government, the incoming government, deal with the issue of corruption?
The incoming government, I think, already as mentioned, there's a few cases. There's KEMSA, there's the dam cases, and all these corruption cases that have been swept under the carpet. And we see Mother Karua coming very strongly. She has no blemish that we know of or is very clearly evident to every citizen. And I feel that such either the people themselves, and I feel that the presidential candidates themselves need to have come out also clearly in their campaigns that there are cases that need to be closed. There are allegations on, say, KEMSA, on healthcare, on dams, on roads, on SGR that need to be done with, and perpetrators of the same need to be dealt with. So it's how they will support the legal systems, how they will bring that sort of hope and faith in the system again, of that every Kenyan, if they were to go to a court of law, that they would receive justice. There's that sense that people have not been receiving that sense, that justice, which is very important, that there's rule of law and there's following of law, and that the justice will be served. So whoever goes in, they need to have that strong hand to say that we are going to deal with corruption. We are going to start at this point. You know, from when we started the elections, the people who had cases should have not even run in the first place. But we saw that these were some of the things that have taken so long in the courts and were not dealt with. Do they have the strength and the confidence and the courage to deal with the cases? And I think that's a question, and that hopefully in 100 days we might see something, some fruit of hope. I think that's something we have to hold them accountable for.
And this brings me to the issue of the institutions. How would you rate the judicial system in Kenya?
The judicial system has really started performing. I think it has been mentioned earlier that we saw the Chief Justice being elected. She has been fast-tracking cases, cases being new courts coming up in different regions, in the counties. And honestly, what they were trying to do is that let there not be delayed justice. And with the Chief Justice in place, can we see that some of these bigger cases that have been there for years and years being dealt with, can the normal citizen feel safe once more that if they were to report a concern of corruption, that it would be dealt with, not that there would be any canvassing? So I think the structure has already been set in place. We have a Chief Justice who has been pushing it. She is a woman and she has been pushing it. And I think I am really hopeful. I'm really hopeful as a Kenyan citizen that they are going to continue doing the work that they started, and they will continue from where they left off. And hopefully whoever comes in as the new president will allow them to continue to do so.
All right, let me bring this to you, Emily. Now, you know, the ballots are now going to be counted very soon. Coming back to the elections, I mean, ballots are going to be counted, and hopefully in very short time, a winner will be announced. Now, this is usually the very interesting part of the election. I want to put you on the spot, as I like to say. Depending on who wins, how do you think the opponent will take it? Now, let's start with Raila Odinga. Raila is somebody who's been there for a number of years, you know, and his name resounds not just in Kenya, but across Africa. If Raila loses this election, how do you think he'll take it?
I'm very hopeful that they will keep the promise that they told Kenyans when they were doing the final push in their campaigns, in that they're saying they're going to concede or even have a cup of tea together. So I'm hoping that they will keep their word and concede defeat. Although I know that's one particular time that there's a lot of tension, especially when you're announcing the presidential results.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are hoping that there will be peace, and whoever loses will concede.
Okay, let's hear from Michael on that. Because the two main candidates, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, they said that they will allow the people decide and they will accept whatever outcome it is of the election. Can we hold them to their words?
I think that it's like that's like a riddle. I think it's a riddle where we are hopeful that they will stick to their word. But in the political sphere, we have seen things turn around pretty fast. But they...
Michael, are you still with us? Okay, let's hear from Rickson on that. Can we hold them to their words?
I think we can hold them to their words, but also we cannot rule out the other possibility because can I talk about each of them?
Yes, you can, please.
Okay, let's start with somebody like Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has been running for this seat, and this is the time that, according to him, he feels like he's very, very near to the State House. And I think, yes, he said that he will be ready to accept, and I can believe his words up to 60%, being that we've seen him as a person who has the matters of Kenya at heart. Maybe, I think he might concede this time around earlier than the other. But also, I can say that he's a person who has also tried to pursue justice through the right channels, that is through the judiciary. And we saw like even what happened in the 2017, where the judiciary nullified the elections of the Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. For him, I think he's a person, I believe, in case he feels like there's a problem, he'll go to court. Also, not forgetting that he has been seen, you know, we are also forgetting that he's a special envoy to the AU and infrastructure. Yeah. You have heard him in his speeches and whatever, and so many is expected of him, and I don't think he's ready to attain that image. Let's come to the Deputy President, William Ruto. He's a person who has been seen to be a little bit tough on some things, and according to what he said, according to what we've heard, that he might not be very ready to let go, because we heard the president himself say that after during the 2017, there were some issues. There were some issues about it. The president was saying that he was ready to let go, but he was the one who was really pushing. So I don't know about this time round if he'll be willing to let go. Coming to Wajakoya said a long time ago that if I don't make it, I'll support whoever comes in. The same case, Wahiga. Yeah, they've all said that they will be ready to do that. But let's hope that there will be no issue, and if there is issue, we'll pursue them in the correct channels. And we know that the government is prepared for such occurrences, and security of every Kenyan is guaranteed according to what I have observed at my own personal level.
Okay, Rickson, let's say the politicians hold on to their words and they actually go on with whatever comes up for the election. What about the supporters? Are we afraid that there might be cases of post-election violence where sometimes the voters have more say than even the person running the office?
Yes, the supporter issue is a very serious issue because sometimes you find that the supporters feel like they're the ones who have been disappointed more than even the person running for office. But what we forget to understand as supporters of any country in Africa, you will see our leaders exchange words on screen. But in the evening, someone will call someone, my wife has prepared dinner, please come. And they're always together. They're always having businesses together. That is what a common Mwananchi does not understand. And we believe that this time round as Kenyans, they have also tried to understand that because nobody knew that Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga can shake hands and really work together, considering what they had thrown at each other after 2017. Yes.
Very true.
Okay. Let's hear from Michael on this. Michael, what's your take on it, especially on post-election violence? Are we likely to see supporters going tough for the people that they support?
So on post-election, I think as mentioned, people get so disappointed. But I want to go back to a video that was shared yesterday yesterday or the day before of aspirants of Raila Odinga and Deputy President Ruto, where they high-fived each other. And for me, that was a sign of hope that we have been talking about peace and nobody wants to go back to 2007 post-election violence. I want to be hopeful that Kenyans will stick to the voice of hope and the voice of reason, that this...
Michael, okay.
People will drink coffee together. Yeah.
I think I would like to call Kenya a very hopeful nation. I've been hearing the word hope resonating over and over again, which is a very good thing, I must say. Now, Emily, coming to you now, we know that recently there was a recent news where Peter Njuri was to take over as new Kenya Army commander. Now, for this election, we've seen lots of reports, and unfortunately, we saw one of the King's kit actually being stolen. So how would you assess the security agency's role in the election?
Thank you so much. I tend to think the security apparatus this time round have really performed well. We have had issues of stealing of Kim's kit and also clashes and shooting in northeastern Kenya. But so far, so good. I think they have been able to come in very fast and be able to mitigate any further challenges that might come up with these security issues. So I tend to think they were prepared, and we've seen that the security force was more prepared comparing, if you look at 2012, 2017, 2013, 2017, sorry, the securities apparatus, we can say as at now, they are more prepared than in previous elections. So I expect peace, and I'm hopeful. Whatever has been happening with IBC will not cause any suspicion or mistrust against among Kenyans, and that we are going to complete this election in a peaceful manner. Thank you.
All right, still sticking to that question. Now, besides just the improvement of security, what else would you say has improved in this election when compared to particularly the 2017 elections?
So far I cannot say there's major improvement apart from the security, although we've been having better communication and all that. But I think because of the disappointments that we got from IBC, most of the things that have already been done were watered down. But I can say that in these elections, we've had better awareness creation, we had better civic education for the Kenyans. So we expect better results and more peace than in 2017 and 2012.
Peace indeed. Now, Michael, I wonder, do you sense a foul play? Why would an army commander be changed just a day before the election? Can you tell us more about Peter Njuru?
So I think to just observe and to see the ceremonies that were held with the army, and also, there was a ceremony that was held just before, and those changes were made. I don't sense foul play. I just feel like there are certain things that government does just before a new president comes in. And I feel that this information is never shared with the typical citizen, but I don't feel that it has any bad blood or any bad intention towards what is happening now. I feel like, Uhuru Kenyatta has served his time. I think also he has the team that he served with. Possibly they are retiring or moving on, but of course there's always the forces that play. And I don't know much about the forces, so I wouldn't comment so much on that as well.
Okay, I'll throw that back to Rickson. Peter Njuri taking over as a new Kenya Army commander. What would you say to this?
I'll say that the changeover in the forces, that is the forces of Kenya, they have their own protocol, and I can say that was just part of the protocol. I don't see anything like a reason for thinking that that's a foreplay or something. No. The president, as he is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces of Kenya. And by making any changes, maybe it's within his jurisdiction as a president. And we look at the presidency as a symbol of national unity. And I think president cannot dare do anything that can create issues with the country. I think it's all based on good heart. Echoing his words as the president, he has always been saying that what he wants to see is a peaceful Kenya after the election, after he goes home. That is what has been his biggest cry out there, that he wants to leave a united country. And allow me to also echo back on some issues. The president and the former premier, like they had come up with a document that they thought it will play a very big role in bringing the country together. That is the BBI initiative. And looking at that document, the biggest thing in that document was about inclusivity, because most of the time we are having issues after election because of the issue of the winner takes it all. Yeah. And in that document there was some like how maybe we can have inclusivity in across the whole region, because as I also said earlier that regions that find themselves in the opposition most of the time lag behind in terms of development. And the president has been trying to balance regional development in the country. And I think, no, for the changeover of the army, there's nothing fishy about that, and you can say it's protocol. Okay. Yeah.
Inclusivity in government, I think that's what a lot of people have been calling for. That's been quite a contentious issue in Kenya. That is the Building Bridges initiative, which the Supreme Court in Kenya actually stepped down. This was an initiative between the President, Uhuru Kenyatta, and the presidential candidate and former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. Thank you so much, Rickson. Thank you, Emily Wanja Kaburu, a political analyst, and of course, Michael Wayaki, founder Miti Alliance. To allow Michael to leave us for now, thank you so much for all your observations while we go for a quick break and leave you with sights and sounds of what is going on in Kenya.